Movie called Dune, which came out
Yeah.
recently. Before I get into it, what are your first thoughts since you watched it just recently, and what are your first thoughts about this movie?
It's one of the most largest scale films I've ever watched, ever. Like, it's a beautiful film. The visuals, the CGI, everything is just outstanding. And yeah, I didn't know anything about the books, characters, and I was worried going into it I would be confused following the storyline because all these words are hard enough to pronounce, never mind spell and stuff like that, you know. So, but actually, I understood it, and the film lays out everything perfectly. I wasn't ever confused. I was behind the characters. You know, the House of Atreides, Paul Atreides, which is Timothy Chalamet's character. We follow that character. I understood it. It's very, very simple. And I think because I've seen all the Star Wars movies, this was easy to grasp as well because George Lucas read the books, then made Star Wars. You know, so that's where he got most of his ideas from. That's why a lot of themes are similar in terms of the Emperor and the good and the bad and the Force and things like that. There's a lot of that element in this movie, but overall, yeah, it's a slow movie. It's at times I was thinking to myself, I don't know if general audiences will like this because there's not much happening. Like because dialogue's all good, the story's good, but the action is very limited at times. But when the action does come, it is entertaining. But I just wanted more action. But I think Denis Villeneuve said there will be a lot more action in the second film, so that's okay. But yeah, I thought it's just beautiful. Like Blade Runner 2049 for me, directed by Denis Villeneuve, was one of the best ever, and that's his peak. That's his best ever. Like I don't think he'll ever touch that. But Dune is, I think, over these next two movies or three movies, how much he ever makes, will be touching Blade Runner 2049. But it's hard to be critical of this movie because the ending shows that a part two is needed. It's one long story, like Lord of the Rings, and as we'll talk about, it was just announced earlier that a sequel is coming. Thank God. But yeah, I did enjoy this, and I thought the performances were all good. It's just I did parts of it I didn't like because I would have liked more depth with characters like Josh Brolin, more of his backstory, more of Jason Momoa. But I understand that it was all about Paul Atreides and him discovering his power and what he's supposed to be. But I loved in the film he gets visions of the future, of good futures, bad futures, and I don't know what's real, what's not real, what's going to happen in the next few movies. But yeah, it's score. At times, it's hard to understand the dialogue. Maybe it was just me because the score is so loud. But yeah, the score is fantastic. Hans Zimmer did the score for this one, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, so like it's fantastic. But some of the shots in the sand with the sand dunes, sand just moving, flowing in the air, the spice moving within the sand, the sandworms, unbelievable. The ship's landing looked real kissy. It looked like it was actually there. I could touch it on the screen. It's just brilliant. Definitely watch this in theaters if you can. I'll probably rewatch it at home, but it's a fantastic looking film. It just lacks a little bit of action for me. That little bit of I have to see the next one because I would have liked a bigger cliffhanger or a bigger thing to happen near the end for me to want to come back to the next one. Of course, I will, but I think it needed that for the general audiences to want to come back to the next one. That big moment. But yeah, it's fantastic. It's and I've been reading up online about some of the stuff I may have missed and some videos and things like that. And there's so much depth to this film. And is it Peter Skarsgård or Alexander Skarsgård who plays the Emperor? That's one of the most intimidating, scariest villains ever. The way that character just floats around, the way the character eats, it's freaky, and I can't wait to see more of it. Oscar Isaac is very good. He's a nice arc. But I'm sure because Jason Momoa said there was a 5 hour cut he watched of this movie. I'm sure in that five hour cut there is more character development. There is more depth to these characters. Just they had to put in within 2.5 hours and focus more on Rebecca Ferguson and Timothy Chalamet because their story continues into the next movie. Yeah, it's fantastic. I don't think it's his best ever, Denis Villeneuve, but if I watch this one and watch the next one back to back or in one sitting, it could be an unbelievable story from start to finish. And he said there will be more action in the second one, so I'm okay with that. But yeah, it's fantastic. I don't know what else to say about it.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I think this is one of the best movies I've seen ever. Especially in the theater, I definitely recommend watching this particular movie in IMAX, because it, you know, you get that full scale and you get that sound, which is the sound. I look, the visuals in this movie, the cinematography by Greg Fraser is mind blowing, right? And it's
Oh
so
yeah,
unique and it stands out from everything else. But somehow I was just blown away by the sound and the score. And
yeah,
I cannot believe that I'm saying this, but I prefer the sound, a little bit over the visuals of this movie. And that's saying something because the visuals are so great. So the sound just was, so unique and so amazing. Every little thing was detailed. Every sound was so, weird and new, blasting through the speakers in your face. And the
yeah,
score was also very unique. I just loved everything about this movie. And the story, the story was a bit slow. Yes, I agree with that. But I also thought that, like you, I thought I probably wouldn't understand uh, it in my first viewing because of so much new information that's going to be, fed to me. But it was very easy to understand, I think, and very easy to follow. And in certain scenes, I did feel that they were doing a little bit over exposition than needed. But apart from that, I did feel that they did a pretty good job at telling the story, and it was easier to follow for me. And like you said, Denny already confirmed that if he were to get a sequel, then that movie would be a lot more action and he'd have more fun, in that playground because he already set up the world. He doesn't need to explain any more stuff, so there will be less talking and more action. He already said that, so that's a really good thing. I think there are a lot of great themes in the movie as well, and um, it just deals with a lot of issues that are relatable, and I found that very interesting. I'm also very interested in the sequel because apparently that is that has much more political and philosophical themes, than the first movie. So that is what I'm looking forward to the most in this visual action packed spectacle movie, and I think it's very riveting. And yeah, I do think that it's once in a decade kind of a movie to be experienced in a theater, because the last time I got this feeling of watching a movie, I think was um, BVS, and then before that it was Interstellar. And that's saying something because not a lot of movies come out like that. Blade Runner 2049 was also great, and I think it's still Denis' best movie. But I thought that that movie did have a lot of pacing issues, especially the uh, Harrison Ford scenes. I thought were very slow paced. And apart from that, I thought the movie was brilliant and it was complex. It was, um, it had a great score as well. The visuals are amazing. But I still think that movie is better than Dune. But I think Dune is very easy to follow, easier than that, and more fast paced and more action packed than that one. And yeah, I'm definitely going to be watching this again. I just wish that a sequel was coming out just next year, but apparently it's not. But at least it got announced.
yeah. And like, Jason Momoa was great in it. Oscar Isaac, Josh Brolin. Batiste didn't
Everyone
have
was
that much
great.
screen time, but he was very
Yeah,
impactful, and he probably had more in the second one. But Rebecca Ferguson,
yeah,
everyone was brilliant, and Timothy Chalamet gives this kind of subtle performance where I'm not too sure what he is or who he is or what he's going to be.
exactly.
And I think in the next one, when he gains more knowledge and more power, is he going to be good? Is he going to be bad? Like, what is good? What's bad? Like, why do most of this? the universe or the galaxy or the world or whatever it is, why do they hate Atreides so much? I would have liked to know that a little bit more, because they didn't seem to have any allies at all. They just had themselves, and everyone seems to be kind of wanting to hunt them down. So I wonder, are Atreides really good guys? Is the Emperor really a bad guy? What exactly is going on? Rebecca Ferguson, is it her mother? Is like a witch, or these witches or something as well, and they have these powers where they can make you do
Yeah,
stuff, like kind of like the Force. Like I can tell you to do something with the power that they have, and they can do it.
they call it the
That's very
voice.
scary. Yeah, the voice, it's very scary.
Yeah,
Um, the way it's done, and it shows that how much power it has. Because in Star Wars, you have the Force, and it's kind of, once you get it, it's easy to use. But here, you really have to use the voice to make it work. So
yeah,
I did enjoy that, but yeah, I just don't know what way he's going to be, because he dresses in all black. Like, that's really villainous clothes. Like, is he going to be good? Is he going to be bad? Zendaya didn't have much screen time. She was more of
set up for
a
sequel.
vision. Yeah, like a vision to Timothy Chalamet's character, Paul Atreides. She
Yeah,
popped up here and there in his dreams and his visions, but she'll obviously have a bigger role. But the hand-to-hand combat action, it could have been more than that. Jason Moore had a pretty awesome scene, but it could have maybe went on a bit longer. And when Timothy Chalamet's character has one near the end of the movie, I thought that could have been a little bit more epic, or a little bit more tense. It was kind of easy for him. Maybe that's just to show his power. I don't know, but yeah, there's lots of details to pick up, because in his visions, people who die in this movie are in his visions of the future. So they
yeah,
obviously, that future has to change in some capacity. And yeah, the world building is insane, though. It's done
yeah,
perfectly. It's like, it sets up so much, and it was easy to grasp. I understand it. I was worried that I wouldn't know the names, but I know the character names. I know kind of the cities and the planets and stuff like that, which is something that I didn't think I would know after just one viewing of it. So
yeah,
I'm impressed that he was able to do that within 2.5 hours with a movie that was so slow paced. That didn't have that much action. I was still intrigued by what was going on. So, did you see that scene with the spider? The emperor,
ah,
the emperor, the emperor has this kind of pet spider with
yeah,
human hands,
yeah,
and it felt like it wasn't part of the movie, because the spider's walking with human hands,
yeah.
and it's just eating out of a bowl.
That
And I'm
felt
like,
so random, and it just,
yeah,
there was no context and there was no setup.
yeah.
It just happened.
In the comics, or in the books, I should say, it's not, the emperor has pets, but it's not a spider; it's children. So his slaves, So I think that's why they changed it to a spider, but I don't understand why it's a spider. And then the doctor, is it is it Doctor Wu? Am I getting that wrong? The doctor that works for the House of Atreides.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
I don't want to give too much away, but his wife, they're saying, may have been, because his wife is taken, and he has to do stuff he doesn't want to do, but he does it to get his wife back. But he says that the people that have his wife are pulling her apart. So there's some theories online that the Emperor turned his wife into the spider. So I don't know if that's accurate or not, if that's going to be true, but that was just so weird.
Yeah, it is. I mean, there's so much weird stuff, like little details in the background, like you said, that we, catch up. And there's a kangaroo mouse that was
Yeah,
on screen for a very long time, which means it's kind of important, I guess, for the next movie, maybe. And yeah, there's also David Dasmalchian in this movie, and he's
God,
just
yeah.
now like a genre boss now. He's in everything.
He has the best IMDb page ever. It's
Yeah,
crazy. DC, Marvel, Dune.
yeah,
He just has to get Star Wars now. Well, Oscar Isaac actually has a pretty good filmography too.
yeah.
He's been in Star Wars, Dune, going to be Moon Knight.
Hmm.
Probably by the end of his career, he'll end up in DC at some stage.
Yeah, I would
So,
love that.
but there's one scene, I don't want to spoil it, but you know when I say it, I love the scene where there's a twist with the Emperor and Oscar Isaac. And Oscar Isaac in a scene is, he's paralyzed. Someone's given him some sort of a drug, and he can't move. And the
Hmm.
Emperor is talking to him. That whole sequence was fantastic. And then to find out the outcome of it, was even like even more. I was kind of angry. I was like, oh, I thought
Yeah.
that character was gone. But no,
Yeah.
that was really well done.
Yeah, it was. And I completely agree with Siani here. I am afraid of spiders as well. I hate seeing them, but this one wasn't that scary, I think, because, it was a hybrid. For me, it's the legs that, get to me with spiders, but this one didn't have that. So it's kind of
It,
not
it
that
was so
scary.
random, and thank
Yeah.
God the movie was good, or I would have people would have butchered that scene apart.
It looked
But
like something from Harry Potter.
just looked like was it edited and one just put it in for a joke or something. Weird. Wonder if we get to see the spider come back. But
Yeah.
I kind of want to talk about the sandworm for a little bit.
Oh,
So
yeah.
the main kind of storyline for the whole film is about spice, and this spice is used for it's to prolong life. You use spices in your food and stuff makes you healthy, and also it's for interdimensional travel. If I have that right. And I looked it up online. It's not like they put spice into the aircrafts or the ships to go through time or something like that, or through the galaxy or space. There's something that controls the ships that, and they take the spices. There's like these kind of alien type of things that take the spices, and it makes them stronger to be able to power the ships to go through space. I don't
Yeah.
know if that's canon to the movies or if they're going to change it in the movies. Maybe it just powers the ship. I'm not too sure. But that was interesting. So the big war for this film is over the spices. Like it's
Yeah.
like oil. It's kind of like in our world, there's wars over oil. In these worlds, there's wars for spices, for
Yeah.
spice. There's an amazing shot where the camera is just kind of focused on the sand dunes and the wind's blowing the sand, but you can see the red spice
Yeah.
blowing through the sand as well. Great shot that kind of opens the movie.
Yeah. I
And
love that. There's so
where
many
the
subtle
spice.
things in the movie that you catch like that.
Oh yeah, it's great. But like if you yeah, so the main storyline is for the spice. But in the area that the spice is, there's this giant sandworm,
Yeah.
and it can hear the vibrations of human steps. So if
Yeah.
you're just walking through the sand dunes, the worm will come at you and just eat you and just kill you.
It's
So you have
such
to
a
be very very
basic
careful.
story plot point. Like, even Super Mario has that. You know, you have the princess, you have to save her, but there's a monster. you know,
Yeah,
Such
yeah,
a
and
simple plot line,
like
but he made it very thrilling.
yeah, and the House of Atreides is kind of they want to they're kind of over the spice manufacturing. Like there's like I don't know what they're called, but it's like just imagine a
The
farm with
machines?
a tractor.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a tractor on the sand on the sand dunes, kind of collecting or harvesting the spice. But there's kind of a really cool epic scene where one of them malfunction and breaks down, and they get down there, they work there until the sandworm comes, and then they're able to get out there just in time. But one of them breaks down. Pretty cool scene there. But yeah, the sandworm is brilliant. It's huge, and I didn't watch it in an IMAX theater, but I'm sure if you watched it in an IMAX theater, you would have got to see because there's one shot of Rebecca Ferguson and Timothy Chalamet just standing at the bottom, and the giant sandworm is like taking up the entire screen. I'm sure if
Yeah.
you were in IMAX, you would be able to see the entire shot. But yeah, the sandworm was pretty cool, and but it's actually going to be a big feature in the sequel. From what I've seen online, that the sandworms will be used for the wars, for the fight back that Paul Atreides will do. So that's awesome as well. But yeah, it's an amazing creature. It's something so simple that I thought would just be like a subtle, a monster to get by in a certain scene. But it's actually throughout the entire movie. This
Yeah.
sandworm is shown, and you learn more about it. So I did like that. And then I'm just going to call them sand people. There's these people that live within
The
the sand
Fremen.
dunes, the Fremen, and they know um,
There's
where the sandworm
Yeah,
will
their
be.
suits
They
are
know how
also
to
pretty
avoid
good.
it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. There's like these. They use these suits
To
that collect.
recycle.
Is it them that use the suits?
Yeah, it's the Fremen. They use these in they have this inbuilt recycling system that can can take in your sweat and recycle it into drinking water, and then immediately inside that suit itself supplies you drinking water into a tube.
Oh, cool. Oh, cool. So if you
Is it?
sweat,
In my theater,
spit,
people
or
were
if you
disgusted by it.
recycled, so it doesn't really
S-
count.
especially when in one scene some people were spitting in the recycle thing, and then that was turning into drinking water.
And if you also go, if you go for number one in the suit, it will
Yeah,
recycle water as well. So that's pretty cool. But what I liked as well, it's just such a subtle thing, but the sandworm or the sand rat, whatever it's called, it actually showed us how it survives in the
yeah,
sand dunes. Like they drink their own, it drinks its own sweat while it's running and stuff like that. That's pretty cool. That was a cool detail. I really like that. And obviously that creature will come back into it at some stage because Timothy Chalamet just what he's seen the character, them or the mouse or the rat, and then with the camera focused on it for a few seconds. That's a
yeah,
there's so many subtle things that will come back in the next movie. That's where you have to watch the next one to really get it. But yeah, it was awesome. And to avoid the sandworm, you have to do this kind of dance. The sandworm won't pick up this the vibrations of you walking, so you do this dance to avoid it.
yeah,
But that's interesting as well. There's so much more, but so much stuff to talk about. We don't want to spoil too much as well. But also Javier Bardem is in this movie as well. I didn't know he was in this movie until I watched it,
yeah. Me
and
too.
he's got a few funny scenes as well. And but is it just me or did Zack Snyder and Denis Villeneuve kind of reshape themselves as directors? Because I like their movies, but a lot of their films are dark and there's not too many inspiring kind of funny moments in any of their films.
Yeah,
But then Zack Snyder's Justice League was actually one of the most funniest DC films I ever watched. But it wasn't like Marvel comedy or like stupid comedy. It was like real world comedy, like stuff
yeah,
that you do with your friends or your family in real life. And then in Dune, there's a lot of comedy in this film as well, but it's not like overdone. It's not stupid comedy. It's just like it's funny, and people
yeah,
laughed in the theater when I watched this. People laughed when I watched Zack Snyder's Justice League with them. So I think they've grown as filmmakers, not to make it so dark and bleaky all of the time, and they've added in that little bit of humor, which I think does help. The likes of Jason Momoa, who's been in both, can do that to perfection.
yeah. He really brings the comedic fun moments in in this movie. Um, one of I think the only time people in my theater had a big laugh was I as far as I'm remembering was just in one scene, and that was the Momoa and Javier Bardem introduction scene.
Yeah,
Something happens there which I don't want to give away, but that scene just was really funny.
yeah. And there's another scene as well. People laugh. I forget which one it was. Um, I forget. I think it may have been the recycle thing, maybe. With the suits, that could have been it. But there was definitely somewhere else that there was a comedic moment. People laughed. But I think it adds a lot to it because it's not so dark all the time. It does, like it refreshes you, kind of reboots you when you're watching the movie when there's a little bit of a laugh here and there. But
Yeah,
yeah, Dune was pretty amazing, and I want to dig deep into the world building and more of the characters and the world stories. I might watch the original Dune, David Lynch's Dune. People say it's terrible and stuff, and I've seen some clips of it, but yeah, I might just check it out just for the fun of it. But then that's the entire book, so I don't want to spoil
yeah,
myself what happens next either. I want to watch it in a good way with Denis
yeah.
Villeneuve.
That's
I don't want
why
to read the
I
book either.
yeah, that's why I haven't read the books or I haven't, seen the previous movies or the show before watching this movie, and neither have I watched any breakdown videos or anything on this because I know in those videos people will just talk about the book and give away stuff. So I just want to be completely fresh for the sequel.